Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, dependent on where you're joining us from. Welcome to today's show. My name is Jo Gregory, and you'll notice that this lovely creature to my left or right, depending on what's going on, is not James O'Brien. It is, of course, the wonderful Ali Braid. So hi, Ali, how are you doing?
Hi, Jo. I'm really well, thank you. Excited to be here with you.
I know, it's very exciting. So for those who are joining us, thank you very much. We should be streaming this on a few different profiles. And if you have got any questions as we go through or any comments or, blast from the past, come and say hi. We'd love to talk to you. We're going to try not to get super distracted, which will probably happen because I've known Ali for a long, long time. So Ali is founder of the Recruitment Trainer, which is a recruitment-specific training and coaching business. And Ali is fabulous. And Ali has been in recruitment for 21 years. And I think when we looked at this, I think we almost started in the same month.
Yes.
A million years ago.
Yeah.
Too many to even think of.
Yes.
And for the last 16 and a half years has been designing and delivering training. And we first got to know each other in COVID, actually, when lots and lots of people were building communities so that they could, help each other and share best practice in what was a really, really strange time. So myself and Ali have known each other for about 5 years. We've been doing this show for 2 years. Ali, it's taken us 2 years to get you on the show. Why is this?
I have no good reason for you, Jo. I'm sorry.
There's no excuse. No excuse. Apart from the fact that she is very, very busy.
Well, of course. Apart from that.
So training recruiters, managers, business owners, and helping businesses to unlock performance and actually enjoy what they do, which is the main thing. Ali delivers game-changing training. I know this for a fact. Game-changing training for everyone from rookies to boardroom leaders. And she is a keynote speaker. Oh, you can tell us about this in a second, actually, because you've got something coming up. A lifelong learner and a firm believer that motivation plus enjoyment equals results, which is a very, very cool thing for us to talk about today, because we are talking, of course, about building high-performance teams in 2025. So welcome, Ali. Thank you for eventually agreeing to come on the show.
Fitting you in. I'm sorry.
I think it's a James O'Brien thing. James, if you're listening, he's in Bulgaria at the minute with Plarman. So if you're listening, I genuinely think we needed to get you to leave the country to get Ali on the show.
No, thanks, Jo.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, thank you for that intro. That's lovely.
You're welcome. Brilliant. It's the only one you're getting. I don't introduce you like this if we're just, chatting to anybody.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to make the most of that.
Yeah, but you've got tons of experience. So before we've got loads of different things that we want to talk about today.
Yes.
Building high performance teams in 2025. There's a lot going on, but I don't actually think that some of the things that we do to build high performance teams change. Doesn't matter if it's 2025 or 1985. Yes, okay, fair enough. We're not posting CVs to each other anymore, but building high performance teams is a few key things really that we're going to discuss today. Evergreen points. So recruiting for the right team, the pitfalls of getting your own recruitment wrong, which is mad, the irony of a recruitment owner not being able to recruit, but it happens. We're going to talk about onboarding for success. We're going to talk about why L&D is crucial. Obviously, we're going to say that because that's what we do for a living, but it is. We're not just saying it. How to build high performance. It is, yes. Even if we didn't do this job, we would still think it is.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about high performance pathways, how to actually build high performance pathways in your organization. And then retention, we're going to talk about retentions, how to retain your staff, how to reduce your attrition levels. And we're also going to talk about, I think, probably one of the key points at the moment, Ali, and we might kick off with this actually, because it's a hot topic, is what to do if your teams aren't doing BD. So should we kick off with that one? Because I think that's a biggie, isn't it? And if anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. So Ali, come on.
Yes.
Why aren't a lot of people doing BD right now?
I think we're in, I was going to say a perfect storm, but it's an unperfect storm, isn't it? Imperfect storm. I think we've got a number of things. I think we've got a cohort of recruiters who joined when things were easy. You know, the jobs were coming in, weren't they? The candidates were there, bish, bash, bosh. It just felt easy. And I think suddenly, well, not suddenly, in the last, I don't know, 18 months maybe, it hasn't felt easy. It isn't easy to make placements. So I think that cohort, understandably, have really struggled. I think also, and I know we're going to talk about this, you know, that lack of development, again, because we know budgets have been tight. There is that concern, you know, about spending money, which we both understand, don't we, Jo? So I think there's been that. And I think with the BD side and particularly getting on the phone, which you and we will always bang this drum as being part of your marketing, part of your BD approach. Again, I think we've maybe got some generational differences, but actually none of us really use our phones in the way that we perhaps did even 5 years ago. So I think that's isn't there? And then because of that, there's a fear. So the fear builds up. And I think suddenly you look around sort of the sales floor and no one's really talking to clients or candidates. So it's this imperfect storm that some of it perhaps could have been prevented, but I think also a lot of it couldn't. And that's where we are. That's what we're having to deal with, isn't it, really now? And you and I are seeing it. You know, I'm having conversations about this all the time. With leaders.
Yes. Do you know what I'm finding as well, which I think has always been there, but I definitely seen it a lot more than normal. So here at iIntro, you know, we work with lots of organizations who are looking to transition from contingent to retained, or even just, you know, high level executive exclusive recruitment. And so a big part of that is potentially looking at opening up new markets or new areas of your market. And that involves business development. And we are training more and more business leaders and business owners on BD because for the vast majority, loads of people today will be in the same boat. You're running a business now. You might not be BDing. And if you are, it's not how you were doing it at the beginning. You know, ground zero, boots on the ground. I've got to phone 100 people. I've got to try and get some business from somewhere. So I don't even think business owners sometimes know nowadays how to BD. And so it's very difficult for them to either tell their team to do it or maybe even help their team to do it. You know, so say these are the things to do. So we're training a lot of business owners. We're going to talk about this in a bit, actually, because we've got another boot camp coming up, which we used to do in COVID. So we used to run 4-week boot camps, and we've enabled, you know, consultants all across the UK and abroad, actually, to hundreds of thousands of pounds in new revenue through our BD boot camp. But one of the things that we always used to do, which we'll do again this time, is then we used to do coaching sessions with the business owners to say, look, this is what they've learned. This is what they're now capable of doing it. This is how to embed it in your organization. So sometimes I just think that that's a bit of an issue as well, you know, and is business development consistent within your organization? Is it normal? Are you normalizing it? Or have you still got people sat there being told to do BD, but not knowing how to do it, and nobody else is doing it? And they're making it even weirder.
Yes. And actually, I was having this exact discussion with someone yesterday. If you're surrounded, let's say you're a new starter or you're a few months in or a year in, but you're sitting with a group of experienced people, they are not working their desks in the same way, are they? They're not having to probably make as many phone calls or do the same level of outreach because they've already got the networks. So they're looking at them, those new starters, going, well, they're not having to do it. Why do I have to do it? So there's that disconnect, isn't there?
Yes.
And I think the other thing, Jo, that I was thinking about before we came on today, and I was trying to think of a sort of a metaphor, and I'm seeing this a lot. If you say to you, like if I said to you, or if you said to me, Ali, give me 50 push-ups now, I'll be like, no way on earth, right? I could probably do 2 push-ups, proper push-ups. And yet what I hear, we've got a lot of stressed business owners, MDs, directors going, right, you need to get on the phones more, you need to make more calls.
Yeah.
Well, that's like saying, get down on the floor and give me 50 push-ups, right? They can't do it. They don't know where to start. But if you and I do this, and we do this in our boot camps and in our BD training, just do 1 call. If you say to your teams, look, just do 1 call in the morning, 1 call in the afternoon, right? And then we'll, let's get together on a Friday. We'll have a stand-up meeting with some coffee and tea. What happened? How was that? Let's talk about it. If you suddenly go, right, everyone's got to make 50 calls this month, it's not going to happen. It's like asking someone who is unfit or can't do push-ups to just suddenly do it. I think we have to manage our expectations, don't we, of what is possible, and build up to that. Yeah, that would be great if you could do 5 calls a day or 10 calls, or whatever it might be for your industry and for your business. But just suddenly switching it on it's not fair, and it's not realistic.
No. And even if they've come from a previous consultancy, they might not have done it. But, a lot of us are taking people from outside of the world of recruitment now, or with no experience whatsoever. So we can't expect them to be doing something, like you said with the push-up analogy. If we've not taught them how to do it, if we've not given them the tools and the training to do it properly. And also, I remember when we were first training back in the day, in the black and white era, and businesses were giving scripts to consultants who were then sort of getting on the phone and using these scripts, and they were learning by rote. They weren't understanding the context behind what they were doing, and they weren't understanding the why they were doing it. So I think training has evolved massively. So we have to be not just telling recruiters what to do and showing them how to do it, but explaining why you need to do BD. What the benefit of that is going to be to your business. Your desk is your business, but also why would people want to work with you? So I had a very interesting conversation with someone the other day, because we were talking about fee negotiation, and they were really struggling when they were negotiating fees. So I said, well, why are you negotiating in the first place? And they said, because I don't think that the clients will pay the fee. I was like, okay, so you're basically negotiating with yourself. You're your own biggest objection. You don't believe that you're worth that fee. Why don't you believe
else will? Yes,
exactly. And then you're like, oh well, I don't know, because I don't know what we do that's different. And I thought, right. So I literally phoned the owner of the business, and I said, this is not a fee negotiation issue. This is a value proposition issue. This is a purpose. This is an identity issue. This person is not proud of what they do. They don't think, gosh, actually, I think we should put our fees up.
Yes.
And when you understand your purpose and your identity and your objectives and the value you add to businesses, I think it comes from you then. It just becomes easier to start communicating in a BD sense.
And then it's genuine, isn't it, Jo? So all of that, having that belief, if we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, knowing the USPs, but I think you're so right. It's believing in them as a recruiter, and believing in the service and the value that you bring. So I 100% agree with you on that. And again, I think because people haven't had to sell very much when we had that boom time, I think you're right. I think that's another area of development that we see. Actually, are you selling yourself? Do you know why people should use you? Do you know why candidates love you? Do you know why clients love you? Have you asked the question recently, right? That's a really nice way, isn't it? To just, well, actually, why do you come to me? Why do you use us? So 100%. It's all tied in, isn't it? And it does all tie in then to those confidence levels and those motivation levels, because if they don't believe it, then why would anyone else?
No, exactly. And I also think that, what is BD? at the end of the day, you know. I mean, I don't think there is any such thing as a cold call. We shouldn't be phoning someone if we know nothing about them and we've got nothing of any interest to say to them. Like, don't bother. I wouldn't want to be doing that. I'd rather do push-ups than cold call. You know, they're not impossible, but they're not. I mean, they're not particular. There are so many better ways of doing it. I mean, Keith, hello, Keith. We love Keith Fox. Keith Fox has said, in the world of hybrid work, how are new consultants learning? So, or leaning, but I think it's learning. I'm going with learning. Well, if they're working from home and they're very, very insular as well, it's not like you are listening to people around you all the time and almost absorbing BD by process of osmosis. But I think everything's BD. You know, if you're short on candidates, you've got to, you know, proactively, you know, creating relationships with candidates, proactively creating relationships with clients. It's all the same. And absolutely, Keith, we need to be thinking about the hybrid working now and how we learn, but also whether it's motivational. You know, how do you motivate remote teams? It's not even a list of things we're talking about, but it's not like us to
go on a tangent. No, it is, and it is difficult. And I know we're asked about this, and and maybe less so now, but because I think people are in the office more. But I think you're right, Keith. It is a good question, and actually, is it a question that's still asked enough as well, potentially? Because if you are hybrid, or if you've got relatively new members of staff, I think you're right. You know, the studies have been shown, you know, in those times when everyone was at home, that route to promotion really slowed down. Yeah, it's all right, Keith, don't worry. We're all multitasking most of the time, don't worry. You know, it did slow down that whole learning sort of trajectory, can't say it, for all of us really, because we were at home, and some people were just on their own actually for long periods of time. So it is an important one.
It is, and sometimes I think the best people to ask are your consultants. You know, if you want to start putting which we're going to talk about now, actually, L&D. You know, is learning and development crucial? Well, I think we're kind of saying through the point of the conversation that yes, it is crucial. You know, are you asking your people to do things that they've never done before? Do they know how to do it? Because if they don't know how to do it, that's a learning point. But if they know how to do it, Ali, but they're not doing it, then that's a development point, isn't it? Like, why aren't they then doing it?
Why aren't they? And like we've already said, is it a lack of confidence? Is it a lack of belief? Is it just a lack of understanding of what the point of difference is in their business? So there's a lot in there. But as you say, I think if you can do just a bit every day, which we talk about in the boot camp, you know, it's as you say, it's not cold calls anymore. I think for me, and when I train on business development, and certainly on anything phone based, you know, it should be part of a strategy, shouldn't it? It's part of your marketing. And as you say, it's everything you do when you talk to candidates, when you deal with clients, it's emails, it's everything. And actually having those conversations cements those relationships. You know, phone calls are scientifically proven to increase feelings of bonding. You know, that there are research and studies on that, which Tina, I can share with you after this. You know, that's why we bang the drum, isn't it, Joe? Because we know that, you know, a phone call after an email or an email, or, you know, it kind of solidifies that relationship, and you get that buy-in and that trust, because you're a human being. And I know we're not talking about AI for a change in this.
Let's not bring that into the conversation.
But you know, people want the human stuff to remain human, and this is the bit. This is the bit that absolutely you can have control of, and you can make your own. And I think that's where, as things become more automated, this is the bit that is going to make you stand out.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, anybody can anyone can automate 1,000 mailers to go out to somebody, and that's a great way of building awareness for your brand. I'm not going to knock it. It's the same on LinkedIn. It's all about brand awareness and for you. But then, you know, on top of those two things, you've then got to have that bespoke element, which is, you know, proactively reaching out to inactive candidates. It's proactively reaching out to target companies. And it's having conversations. It's establishing a dialogue. It's having conversations. It's trying to find ways that you might be able to help those people. That's all it is, isn't it? You know, could you improve their lives in some description? Could you make their business better? You know, could you help that particular person to get something in their career that they've not got yet? We're problem solvers. We're not salespeople. We're problem solvers. And, all we're trying to do is have conversations with people to see what they do, how they do it, if there's anything that could be better, and if we could help them with that. And I think you're right. Consistency is key. Always, ka-ching, Bitcoin. We used to. I suppose we must be on commission for the word consistency.
I wish.
You have to say it about 20 times. Well, we'd be sat on our own islands by now.
We would, if that individual islands. Yeah.
But no, I agree. I think it needs to be part of a sewn together strategy. And yes, we will talk about technology a bit in a second. To come back to whether L&D is crucial, one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute is building high performance pathways. And one of the things about building a high performance pathway is you've got to know what works. And in order to know what works, you have to measure what you're already doing to know what works and what doesn't. So maybe there are businesses out there that don't think they need learning and development intervention because they're not really measuring the success of things and whether things could be more efficient and whether things
don't know.
More effective. Exactly. So it doesn't have to be someone coming to you, a consultant coming to you saying, I can't do this, or I've got a problem, or I'm not going to do it. That's not the trigger point for L&D. The trigger point is, where am I trying to get to as a business? Where am I now? What's preventing us from getting there? How do we remove obstacles for our staff? How do we ensure that they've got all the right tools and the right opportunities? And sometimes L&D can help with that, help to see that the training needs and the coaching needs that maybe the business can't see themselves, can't they? And that, I mean, I know you spend a lot of your time. It's that investigative piece with the client at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And as you say, I think, you know, you don't. Well, it's like, you know, we hear, we think they need BD training, or we think they need this. And then actually, when you dig in, there are other elements to consider. Is it a confidence issue? It might not just be a skills issue. Is it a confidence issue? Is it a motivation issue? Is it something else?
Manager
is it a trust issue? Manager, 100%. And I think as well, you know, yes, we know we're an investment. Intro's an investment. I'm an investment. You are. But we are very much, I think, now in a world, and we feel this too, don't we, that things are always changing.
Yeah.
And we've had to adapt, and the industry has had to adapt, and the people who work within that industry have had to adapt. And for me, Jo, I see L&D as being part of your toolbox to enable that adaptation. You know, it's that whole, and we're really good in recruitment, aren't we, at going, well, we've always done it this way. And then it's people like you and I going, well, you know, is that the best way? Could we look at other options? Because I think, you know, we have so many great brains ultimately in our industry. You know, people have really good ideas. They want to innovate. They want to change things. And actually, people are more prepared to give suggestions, you know, and to suggest different ideas if they're happy in their work. And being happy in your work links to what development you've had. And we know this, don't we? We know that is part of, you know, a happy employee, I don't know, avatar, isn't it? You know, they feel invested in, they feel valued. They are being developed. And I think that in itself, when we do that work and it lands, that in itself fosters, you know, real change. It's not, we'll just carry on doing what we're doing. You know, we are the bringers of change. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Like that. I might rebrand that. Trademark it.
Your new LinkedIn tagline has just been born. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Bringers of change.
Yeah.
It's
true though. And I don't think L&D stops with consultants and managers. You know, C-suite coaching, business business owner level coaching.
Yes,
all of that's very that can be a very insular place to be, a very lonely place to be when you're running a business. Lots of eyeballs looking at you, wanting to know what the next step is. And I've met lots of business owners who don't know what the best next step is. They're feeling their way forwards. And L&D networking. We were great at doing that in COVID, sharing best practice, talking to each other, building communities. Yes. There's some great LinkedIn networking communities out there, regional ones, national ones. And if you get the right one, it can add massive value to your business. Even if sometimes it's just, as coaching and learning can be, validating that what you're doing is the right thing to do.
That's right. Yeah. But actually, I did a video of this a few days ago when the sun was still out and I was in the garden. It is lonely, isn't it? It's lonely running a business. It can feel lonely as a leader, but actually being a part of something which you and I have wanted, haven't we, within our businesses. And I think you're right, it is valuable, if not to just hear that, do you know what, we're all in the same boat. And then what I look for, and I know you will as well, is that that open-mindedness. Yes, it's been tough, and yes, we're all sort of feeling that those pressures of how it's been in the last 6 months to a year. But what can we do about it, right? I think we have to have that element of, okay, this is hard, so let's find a solution. Let's find a solution together.
Yeah,
we'll find one.
Absolutely. So we had a banner that came up before. Hopefully Tina, magical Tina in the background, will stick the banner up again. There it is. One of the things that Ali does that we do here at iIntro as well is a training needs analysis or a development needs analysis. So if you sat there thinking something's not quite right, but I don't know, or we can't kick on to the next level that we want to as an organisation, you can contact us. We'll come in, we'll ask loads of pokey questions. But then at the end of it, we'll be able to present to you a series of things that you can put in place in your business that are going to help you to improve the productivity and performance of your team, which brings us nicely to talking about how to actually build high performance teams in the first place. So high performance pathways, essentially, all the things you need to put in place within your business to enable high performance. So what are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think that this one, Jo, I seem to talk about a number of things at the minute. One of those actually is being allowed to make mistakes. And again, it links to that trust element, which
feeling safe.
Yeah, it's that safe. It's that safety, that psychological safety, which I know you're great at sharing about. And it's so true. If people feel safe, if they feel listened to, if they're trusted, they will have more creative ideas. They will be more motivated. They will, feel like they can share their ideas freely. They'll be more committed. There's no bad things in there, ultimately, is there?
No.
So I think if you can build that trust, and then of course that takes you, okay, well, how are we building the trust? And I think for me, the most important thing is that communication piece within a business, isn't it, Jo? And I know you and I have experienced great examples of that within our businesses, and when we were in recruitment ourselves. I think actually communicating to your team, what's going on, what's changing, what's the plan for training. The most comments that I hear and still tend to hear when people are a bit, that they're not particularly happy, usually starts from there's been some miscommunication or something hasn't been communicated because the leadership team thought, well, no, they'll be fine with that. That's okay. And then guess what? No one is fine with that. And it was a small thing. And then it sort of grows into this big fruit of discontent, if you like. So, I think that communication piece, don't get me wrong, it's exhausting, right? You and I have both been directors in businesses where, we've dealt with that every single day, and it does, I think, come down to this trust piece. If you have trust, people are willing to make mistakes. People are willing to go all in. People are willing to do more. without fear of judgment. And that takes us back to what we said earlier about, we've got to change with the times, we've got to adapt. So it's all part of, actually, are we 2025 and beyond ready, or are we just going to stick,
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder if sort of, technology and AI, I mean, talking about L&D, we've got to bring AI into the subject because that's here to stay. But every time we put a new piece of technology or kit into our organization, are we doing it for the right reasons? Do people know how to do it, or is it sending them backwards or forwards? Are we evolving or are we devolving? Are we putting all this technology into our business, but then not communicating with each other because we're all sat there with technology? Having arm's length transactional conversation, relationships with candidates and clients where we've never actually spoken to them, but then wondering why clients and candidates aren't behaving themselves. There's no advocacy there. And are we training our teams to use this technology to the best of its ability? Because if not, you've just given them a load of reasons to not get on the phone. You've given them a load of excuses to not have conversations with people. And you've just given them, 30% more in their day of admin and things like that. So I think having the right platforms in your business is key, but not just shoving loads of stuff in there and expecting people to make money from it. That doesn't happen automatically.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that expectation that new piece of tech and that AI, it's going to magically make us more money. Well, no, it's going to help. And as you said, it will streamline processes. But again, it's that human to human, isn't it, Jo? Why would you take away the elements that prevent the human to human bit, which is the part that forms relationships and trust and retain work and longevity in your revenue? And that, and I get quite frustrated for people on this, because I think people are implementing things that either they don't need or they think it's going to give them certain results, and it won't because they are missing that human element.
Yeah. And if some of us aren't using the phone as much as we used to be, are we getting worse at having conversations, being able to initiate a conversation and actually have a conversation? So, I know a lot of the training that we're doing at the moment is about, it's about the art of conversation. It's about problem solving, question asking, conversation building. And that's not because people are, that's just because they're just not used to it. Which again kind of brings us back to when you're, high performance pathways. I think one of the most crucial things you need to get in place within your business is purpose, and then communicate that purpose. You create a collective that way. People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So creating that collective within your organization is key. You need to have a purpose. You need to have a plan. You need to have a goal. Where are we going as an organization? So people will get on board with you. But then you need to have that value proposition. This is where we're going and what we're doing. But this is why we're doing it. This is why our mission is, missions are great. What is your mission statement? What are you doing? Are you sending CVs? Are you filling jobs? Or are you enabling highly ambitious businesses to grow through the recruitment of the right people and helping them to, we talk a lot about this at iIntro, because the iIntro platform is designed to streamline your recruitment process, make it more efficient, but also more effective. We'll come to in a minute when we talk about hiring mistakes that we make, because we think we're great at hiring for our own teams. But I mean, we could probably sit here and say we've made hiring mistakes as well. When you do it for yourself, it's 100% personal and minus 100% objective and scientific. But we talk a lot here about what do we do? Do we send CVs? Do we save clients time and money and improve performance and productivity and retention? And how much of that do you have on your walls in your business? How much of that are you communicating to your teams on a regular basis?
Yes. Do they actually know? And I did a piece of work with a great team at the beginning of this year, and actually we looked at that and we went back to, well, what do you do? Why are you here? Yes, it's really obvious to the owners of the business, right? This is their baby and they live and breathe it and they think about it all the time. But it doesn't mean your teams know, and they can't just know by osmosis. And actually it led to, I have to say, some really great conversations and a sort of re-energizing of the team and the belief in what they did, which I think you're right, Jo. Everyone's got to be on the same page, but actually again it links to that genuine belief and understanding that what you do adds value in whatever way that might look like. I was just going to say, Jo, as well, I don't know if I'm seeing more questions, so you might have them, but do put your questions in.
I need to check our profile as well, because I always get told at the end of a session, no, you didn't answer my question, but it's not on the iIntro thing. It's streaming on mine, or they've sent it to me somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, just find us and
find us somehow.
I mean, phone us. You can.
Yes, that would be lovely.
And phone us. I'm not going to get sidetracked by talking about trying to get my kids to actually pick the phone up and make a phone call. No idea. When my daughter says, mouths to me, "Where's my phone?" She goes like this, "Where's my phone?"
Oh,
and I'm
really?
like, Game Boy. What is this? Talk about generational differences as well. You really need to be looking at generational differences between business owners, managers, consultants, candidates, clients. Are you selling in a way that they want to be sold to? Are you Are you saying what they want to hear in a way that they want to hear it? Because that's a massive thing. I've got no idea what she's talking about. But that's important to her. She doesn't do that.
She doesn't do that.
No, and nobody does this anymore either. They do that or this, because that's like 80s.
Yeah.
So be mindful of that. I think as an organization, are you asking someone to do something that generationally they are just not conditioned to think is to do, or to think is normal? Anything that your brain thinks is abnormal, it is gonna try to not do it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's summarize a little bit on this high performance pathways then. So we've talked about purpose, we've talked about value proposition, we've talked about communicating both of those two things all the time, stand at the front of the ship, navigating the course, and then bringing everybody along with you. That's then got to transcend down to personal goals as well as business goals. Platforms we've spoken about a little bit, get the right platforms in place that enable and enhance as opposed to hold back. And I think the only other thing to discuss at that point then is productivity and performance. We've talked about L&D, making people better. How are we measuring these people to see, what we need to do differently?
Yeah. And I think with the KPI piece, I think, there's an element, and probably, again, it's probably a generational thing, right? We were KPI'd to the hilt, weren't we? We were KPI'd and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we learned from that. We know that's not right. Then we went the other way, and we're like, right, well, we're not going to have any. We're not going to have anything.
Yeah. Just make 200 grand.
Yeah,
okay. Sat there like, okay then, 200 grand.
Exactly, 200 grand. Make $250,000. Off you go. So, and actually, linked to what we said at the beginning, I think this is another reason actually why more people are struggling, because they don't know what the journey should look like. They don't know how to do that reverse working out, this is what I want to bill. How am I going to get there? How many calls a week? How many emails? How many candidate registrations? How many client meetings? How many candidate, all of that good stuff. And I know I always remember, Jo, when we had the business and we were doing the boot camps, you always talked about the machine, right? And I've always taken that away, so what is going in the machine? Is it the right stuff? Or you're making a cake? You used to talk about cakes a lot.
Always talking about cake.
Always talk about cake.
Cake machine, ingredients. How much of what, in what order, and over at what period of time do you need to produce a cake? And then if you can produce one cake, you can produce 10 cakes. Yeah.
Whereas if you just say to me, Ali, make a cake, I'm going to struggle, right? So I think we need to be in a place now, and I think businesses need to be in a place now where let's reverse engineer. Sorry, that was the word I couldn't think of. Reverse engineer your key outcomes, right? So if we want to make X placements, how do we get there? Break it down.
Yeah.
Because actually, you'll probably find that everyone in your business can do that to a certain degree, and they probably have quite a good sense of what's enough, what would be even better, and what would be even better than that, right? So I think you have to tap into that as well, because they're doing it all the time. But yeah, to suddenly not have any KPIs, and then we're all kind of scratching our heads going, oh, why isn't anyone billing? We know why.
Yeah.
So let's introduce the key ones. And again, this is something you can help with and I can help with, and we do all the time. And it doesn't need to be scary. I think that's the other thing. And actually, you can rebrand it. I've got clients that have rebranded KPIs. They don't call them KPIs.
Yeah.
They call them something else.
Smart data or metrics or...
Yes, yeah. Or key goals, or just goals, or just anything, right? You can call it what you like. Apples and pears, doesn't matter. Just call it something and do it and implement it and talk about it. And what's hard and what's worked this week and what hasn't worked this week. I think all of those great desk conversations, Jo, aren't they? That's been missing potentially a little bit,
Yes.
It's felt hard. We're all feeling it. We're not going to talk about it. Well, no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it and get it out there. So, and acknowledge it. It has been hard this week, but what can we do next week, folks? What can we do? Let's get our heads together.
Yeah, there is always something we can do, and we mustn't put our hands up, and just turn our toes up and go, right, clients are misbehaving, candidates are misbehaving. I can't make any money. I'm stuffing it all in the front of the machine, and nothing's coming out at the end. But the machine's now on fire.
No cakes.
All the cakes are on fire. There's always things that you can do. And I think when you're sat on your desk every day, even as a recruitment business owner, you're so far in it that you can't see on it. And sometimes getting a trainer, a coach, a mentor, someone from another business to come in and go, what's that? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, why did you do that?
Because you don't, that's how our intro was born, because Plowman, came into a recruitment business out of recruitment, from outside of recruitment, from the financial sector, and was like, why is the 8 agencies working on that vacancy? Why are you waiting to the end to get paid? It made no sense to him. It was crackers because he wasn't in recruitment. So sometimes having people an outsider's view in is a great thing. So even if you think there is a problem but you don't know what it is and you don't know how to fix it, that's fine. That's fine. Ask for help, stick your hand up, seek out people who and ask questions. Again, I think we've got out this habit as consultants and business owners of asking for help or asking questions. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to make you look daft. Not everybody has the answer to everything, do they?
No. And that's, I think that's a story we all tell ourselves. And I think we're particularly good at it actually in recruitment, that we should know everything. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. Ask for help, and if we don't know someone, we'll know someone else, and that's the beauty, I think, of what we do.
Exactly. Well, look, let's talk about the last thing, because asking for help is good when you are recruiting for your own business. So there's loads of us on this session today, and I reckon every single one of us, let's have a therapy moment. Every single one of us can put our hands up and go, yeah, I've got it wrong. I've taken them on and I've been so excited. But in the first 4 seconds of meeting them in the lift, I've gone like, oh, they're going to be so good. 3 months later, I'm sat there going, I don't know. Who are you? This isn't who I recruited.
Yes.
So why do we do that? And we've got 3 minutes to discuss this, Ali.
Discuss that. Yeah. So
let's do laser like.
Yes. Yeah. I think, why do we do it? I think because historically, but maybe not just historically, I think recruitment is an industry that can very much be based around personalities. But also we like people that are like us, right? So, and I know I've been guilty of this, I've had a great chat with someone I've interviewed and I'm like, yeah, that'll be great. Not really basing it on anything other than I like them as a person. Now, obviously, just because I like someone as a person doesn't mean that they're going to be a good recruiter, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that is always a danger when we're interviewing. I think as well, ultimately, we are interviewing people quite often that are very good at selling themselves. Right?
Well, or not, as the case may be.
Well, or not, yeah.
But they do a great job, but can't do an interview. That you know, those are two separate skill sets in themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, and I know I've again in the past, blinded by someone's great at selling themselves, that they get in the business and you realize, lying is maybe going a bit far, but there was quite a lot of embellishment, to what they did. So I think when you are interviewing, and especially if it's senior people, experienced people, we need to see pay slips. We need to, we need to talk about, well, how did you build up that account? You're saying you built 150 grand, 180 grand. That's great. How did you do it? And really dig into that, because that will show you whether or not they can replicate it again. And I was burned by that for sure.
And I don't think we ask for that information, and I don't know why. Again, we need to be
no, I know.
By nature, we need to be asking these questions. So I think you're right. If you're looking, if it's experienced consultants who are moving over to you, you need to know what they've done and how they've done it, because past performance tends to predict future potential. But then again, I've seen it where they've had experienced consultants who've come on board and couldn't replicate because maybe they had sales navigator and a resourcer and a PA and all this other stuff that was enabling them. Was it them making 350 grand a year, or was it everything around them that was enabling them to do it? Take them out there. Stick them in a cold desk with a LinkedIn premium account, which quite frankly, if you're good at your job, as long as you've got one of them, you'll reach out to people, you'll make money. You don't need all those props, but if they've had those previously, you don't give them that here. Again, it's a strange analogy, but I used to do this, so I can cook really well at home. If I go on holiday, we go to a lodge or something, I mess it up. And then you think, well, why? I'm constant. The ingredients are constant. The only thing that's different is the kitchen. But it's because I think everything's different. And you get a lot of that with recruiters. So, yes, I think we definitely need to be quizzing them around previous performance. Let's talk a little bit about if you're taking people on who haven't been in recruitment before. We're going to run a couple of minutes over, but that's fine. How do we question those people if they've never done it before? What are we looking for at that point, do we think?
I think at that point, and again, it's good to hear your point of view on this, Jo. I do think there is an element of attitude, and attitude beats aptitude at the beginning, because if someone wants to do it, if someone wants to learn, if someone wants to get good, they probably will. And we can train everything else. We can develop the things that need developing. But what we can't do is make people want to learn. We can't make people want to be there and get through the hard stuff. I think there is that element of intrinsic motivation that people have to enter the business with. Otherwise, you and I struggle and the business is going to struggle. So I would always look for attitude. Because
behaviors.
Traits,
how do we test in for traits and behaviors? Absolutely. That you see in your top billers, test your existing teams. There's some great, so we use McQuaig as a psychometric. It's phenomenal. And it helps us to give more information to clients, to help them to make more informed choices, about who to hire, above and beyond the CV, because it's all about behaviors and traits, environmental fit, cultural fits. Those types of things. Layering selection processes, I think, as well, to ensure that you're testing for what you need to test for, and knowing what you're trying to recruit for in the first place. What do you need in your business? Which probably isn't another version of yourself, which again is, where we tend to end up with our recruitment. And if in doubt, then don't take them on. Gut feeling is normally right. Absolutely. So we are bang out of time. One of the things we were going to talk about is retention of staff as well. The thing with retention, and I know you're in the same boat with me here, is everything we have talked about is going to help you to retain staff. Retention starts with recruitment. Starts with recruiting the right people, onboarding them, training and developing them. putting high performance pathways in place to keep them and to get the best out of them. And then the rest is just a cakewalk. Funny, bring cake into it.
More cake. Yeah, absolutely. And it's doable, isn't it? We know it's doable. It's you know, you can get there and you can keep them. But you're right. It's all those different parts of your machine, I guess, or people's machine as business owners, isn't it? But if it's all in place, that's, you know, that is one of the great outcomes. But having that trust, you know, fostering, you know, we've not really talked about a learning culture, but, you know, I think everything we have discussed together, Jo, is about having a learning culture, you know, and that learning is seen as a positive thing, not a negative thing. We don't expect you to have all the answers. We expect you to find the answers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my goodness, we could talk forever. We've not even scratched the surface, I don't think, of lots of things. And we definitely have to have you back on again, Ali. That's for sure.
Thank you.
You'll be seeing more of us as well. So we will be launching our BD Bootcamp together.
Yes.
That'll be in the summer. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, please.
Ali currently, though, has got an amazing BD offering. So tell us a little bit about your current thing, because I love it.
So my current thing. So I've got an online course which I probably don't talk about often enough, actually. And
BD essentials, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So it's all learner-led, and the first Monday of June, which I think is the 2nd of June, I'm sort of relaunching it, and it's going to be BD in a bag. And the first 10 people to sign up, you'll get the course. You actually get 12 hours of coaching with me.
Wow.
So it is a bargain. I'm going to put it out there. You will also get, or if you sign up your teams, you'll get a planner within there. You'll get one of these, which is on Amazon, although hilariously, Jo, I am now locked out of my own account.
Great.
Is what happened this morning. So that's great. But you can all buy it, right? So, but you'll get one. First 10 signups, we'll get one of those. And then I've also had through today just a tester, but I'm going to go for it, is a little keyring mobile phone, but it'll be branded.
It's like, it's old style Motorola. It's a Nokia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cute. It's a bit of a stress thing. I'll send you one, Jo. They're really sweet.
We can sit here like this next week. You know.
Yeah. So you can all be, you know, your teams could be on their calls with those.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, look, everyone can find Ali. So www.therecruitmenttrainer.co.uk. Ali Braid on LinkedIn. If you want to talk to Ali, we're here at iIntro as well. So we do run free 30-minute diagnostics for business owners. So if you're sat there kind of going, oh, I don't know, it doesn't always have to be. We want to do retained. You know, we're happy because that's how we work. We're very collaborative by nature as trainers. So just seek us out if you want to ask a question. Ali, we will certainly have you back on again at some point in the future. Hugely appreciate you coming on. Thanks to everybody who has watched. Thank you to everybody who is in the background listening or watching the recording. You'll be able to find this plus all of our shows. It's about 80 shows now over on our YouTube channel. So please do join us on there as well. So thanks very much for joining us today, Ali. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. And thanks ever so much, everyone. Take care, and we will see you in a fortnight. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yo.